I put a lot of pressure on myself because I'm like, oh, these people may have never, like the people that I'm interacting with, may have never like talked to another disabled person. And maybe I'm the first one they've encountered in a long time or ever. And so I feel a lot of pressure because I'm like, I am not only representing myself, but also the entire community until they meet another disabled person. Right. So it's like,
And
I
I
just
think
feel a
that there's a
lot.
lot more pressure too
Yeah.
because of like social media.
Hello and welcome to The View from 4 feet and 3 inches. I'm your host, Cassidy Huff. I am a white woman. I am sitting in a faux brown leather chair with 2 pillows behind me because my feet can't touch the ground with just 1 pillow behind me. I have a brown tank top on, my baby blue podcasting headphones, my black rimmed glasses, and my silver nose ring. And I have a wonderful virtual guest with me today. My amazing virtual guest is Malakai. Hi, Malakai.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. Do you want to do a visual description?
Yes, I am African American. I have like medium length dreadlocks. I have a septum piercing. I'm wearing like a dark blue shirt and dark blue beat headphones. And I have a white strong will consulting background in the back.
Love. Great job.
Yes.
Malakai, you and I have been friends for a while.
Yes.
I think almost a year.
We're getting close to that time. I
We're
love
getting
when we can
close.
we have to celebrate friendships.
I
I
know,
think
we do.
yes.
So can you talk a little bit about, for those who may not know who you are, like who you are, what you do, what you're all about?
Yeah, so I'm Malachi Strong. I use he, they pronouns. I have cerebral palsy. That basically means that the oxygen on the side of my brain that controls like walking and motor skills was damaged at birth. So I was actually 2 pounds and 8 ounces. I'm currently a Master's of Social Work student at Capella University. I graduate in September, definitely counting the days. I also do some public speaking, as well as I'm also an author. Yes, yes, all the things.
Okay, so let's start. You were born with your disability, just like me.
Yes.
So let's start like with like childhood. What was it like growing up disabled, in your
Lots of
opinion?
surgeries. So my first vivid memory of surgery, I was between maybe 8 and 10. Uh, Actually, both of my hips were dislocated, and they would do one side one summer and then the next side the next summer. So I just remember like all these surgeries and doctor's appointments and therapies. And it was really hard because I was also in school. And there was actually a time when I was like in 4th grade where they almost held me back because I had missed so many days. But I remember I had teachers coming in. Outside of that, like I guess that was like the most physical, like just giving me something physical to realize something was quote unquote different. And I think just going through the school system, I remember, not having the same experience as most of my peers. Um, and I think there was a lot of mental health that I just didn't have a name for because I was trying to grapple with what is this? How do I, because it's all I've ever known. But I think you can know something and still not know how to deal with it.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I totally get that. That was kind of my experience too, growing up disabled, and I also was constantly in and out of the hospital and had a lot of surgeries and also missed a lot of school. So I can totally relate to a lot of that. So let's fast forward a little bit. How did you know that social work was something you wanted to get into? Why are you into it? What what prompted that?
I think for me, I always went back and forth between psychology and social work. I think it was more pushed upon me to do something with computers just because clerical and it being easy because I like sit down. And I just always would go back to social work or psychology. And as I got older and started dealing with social workers myself, it made me want to be on the other side of it. I wanted to understand why we didn't have a lot of resources or why like a lot of programs like where the gap was. And I think being my own advocate forced me to kind of become a social worker.
Yep.
So then as I started going into like what do I want my career to be, it just seemed like I pretty much have this lived experience. Let's get the paper to like go with it. And maybe I can like stand in the gap for those of us in the community because I do understand both sides of it.
Yeah. No, I think there needs to be more representation in all fields. So that being said, is that something like have you seen representation in the social work field as far as disability goes? Like are you do you feel the pressure to be the representation?
Um, I think, especially these last couple of semesters, as I've been doing my internship, which gives me a lot more work in the field, just seeing what it's like, I definitely think there's a little bit of pressure just because I represent so many marginalized communities in one, and getting that like hands-on experience working with other people and trying to figure out how to be the best advocate for them
Mm.
because I know it for myself. Um, I think there's a little bit of like, don't mess this up or, how can I do this the best way to not only represent like what I stand for, but how can I make it better for those after me?
Yeah, I think I totally empathize with that. I think the I feel pressure when I don't see anybody like me
Yeah,
in whatever space I'm in. And so then I am like, I put a lot of pressure on myself because I'm like, oh, these people may have never, like the people that I'm interacting with, may have never like talked to another disabled person. And maybe I'm the first one they've encountered in a long time or ever. And so I feel a lot of pressure because I'm like, I am not only representing myself, but also the entire community until they meet
right.
another disabled person. Right. So it's like,
And
I
I
just
think
feel a
that there's a
lot.
lot more pressure too
Yeah,
because of like social media. Like a lot
I
of us
agree.
didn't contact with other people in the community until we had things like social media.
Yeah,
And
it's
so
true.
I think now there's also this pressure. Oh, I need to do this because this creator is doing this, or I need to give my side of it because, yeah, that's a good point. And so I think it's just kind of we're still trying to figure out how to like be a part of the community, but also be our own individual selves.
Yeah, I agree. So I want to switch gears a little bit. Um, and if you are not comfortable with this, I'm totally down to cut it out. Just let me
Okay.
know. I do want to talk a little bit about the intersectionality between being trans and disabled.
Yes.
If you're comfortable with that.
Of
So,
course.
when did you realize that? I mean, you grew up knowing that you were disabled. Um,
Yeah.
but when did you realize that you were trans? What age do you think? Or was it just kind
Um,
of something you always knew?
I think for me, I kind of always knew in a sense. I knew something was different, but I think there was a little bit of maybe this is because of my disability.
Interesting.
There were times when I would kind of cross dysphoria, which is, not being comfortable with, it's like having a rock in your shoe and like the only thing you can focus on is that rock. And so I think when I would like go to look in the mirror or look at myself, I would see this person in the chair and I would often blame that chair. And then there became a point in my life where I was like, a little bit of that, but like also I don't like this, this, and this. And I think I spent years trying to grapple with that I didn't really, and I didn't have the terminology. I think I would say I knew maybe 8 or 9, but I didn't really start to really think about it until really I got to California in 2018. So it took
Mm,
me years to, is this disability? Is this more? What is this more? And there were times I would say, oh, maybe I'm just this, because I needed a place to put it. And I think for myself, it was really just a journey of like, no, this doesn't work either, or no, I'm still uncomfortable with this. And there were a couple people in my life that were like, we've always known, and we were just kind of waiting for you to get there. And so looking back and then using what those people were telling me, I was like, oh, okay, a lot of this made sense. I just didn't know what that was.
mm. Was there like a defining moment that you can remember of like, oh, that's what this is? Or was it just kind of like a slow kind of realization?
I think it was slow. There were, times I would kind of come out as one orientation or another, just trying to figure out what it was. And then there was just kind of a moment of like, I'm really tired of trying to be something I'm not.
Mm,
And I was a little bit worried because here I am with this disability that already makes things 3 times as hard. Am I going to add this other layer and deal with that? But I think for me, it came down to being authentic. And if I was going to do social work or mental health, I needed to be my full self in order to meet people where they were. And I think
mm.
that's kind of what gave me the shift is like, if I'm going to go out into the world and contribute, I want to do that as my full best self.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think, um, at least from my standpoint, as a cis disabled woman, I don't see a lot of representation for not only trans disabled individuals, but also people of color that are trans and disabled.
Ah,
So, what, like anywhere, I don't see it really on social media. Definitely don't see it in the media. And I always push for authentic disability representation, but it wasn't until probably probably 5-ish years ago when I first started my like social media
hmm
journey that I really discovered, I guess, this lack of not only disability representation, but also LGBTQ plus representation, trans representation, and then also people of color who intersected all of those identities. So what has your
right.
experience been with that? Like were there creators that you followed to kind of gain support and be like, ah, yeah, I go through that too? Like, was it researching on your part? Was it like, how did you find people that you really identified with? I know you want to see more of my content. That's why I started a Patreon just for you. If you subscribe to a monetary tier on my Patreon, you automatically get access to hours of unseen footage. Behind the scenes, post shows, weekly live updates, weekly private live streams, and of course, so many never before seen pictures and videos of Champ and Monty. So, what are you waiting for? Head over to my Patreon and check out all of the perks that I have for you.
I have to give a lot of that credit to a therapist that I started seeing in 2020. They were literally all I had because they also identified as trans. And so there was this commonality. And I remember going to them and being like, I don't know anyone in the community. Like, I just wrote this like Facebook status, and now, like, what do I do? because I like basically came out on Facebook and that was all I ever said about it.
Bold decision.
Yeah. And then I was like, I'm not like going to really explain anything. Like I had made all these decisions. But then after the fact, I was like, what do I do now? Where do I find like
Valid question.
people and like how am I going to navigate this? And they sent resources. They had different people that they suggested that I started following on social media. And I started with that. And then I think there was, of course, we had like Orange is the New Black. And I think identifying with Laverne Cox's character in that I started to feel like, okay, like it's hard, but like I can do this and I can be my full self.
Mm,
And I think the more I also started to follow people, I was like, okay, I'm not out here by myself. It feels that way, but like there are people there.
yeah. Um, so let's talk about healthcare.
Hmm.
So I understand the struggle of trying to find healthcare as a disabled person. How do you find extra hurdles when trying to find like gender affirming care as a disabled person? Like, is have you run into anybody who's like, no, because you're disabled? Like, is the healthcare system pretty accepting of that? Like, how do you navigate that?
So it's kind of a yes and no. I got really lucky because the insurance that I have in my area, as soon as I called them and explained like, here's the deal, I don't know what to do next, they were able to like refer me to a doctor
Mm,
that they knew handled like all of trans care like in my area. So that really helped because it immediately got me in with like the right doctor. We immediately, I was able to, from the time I came out until the time I started hormones, it was about 3 months. That was about a month and a half of waiting to get in with the new doctor and things like that. So I give a lot of credit to my actual insurance with that part. But I will say an area where I found it most difficult, and I think it's still a part of healthcare, is the caregiving.
mm,
Um, Finding providers who were inclusive and not judgmental, I would say has been the hardest part. Because I can't just, there are parts about being trans that I may be able to be stealth from in like everyday life, but I can't do that with care. And so there's a constant need to like out myself, even if I don't 100% like trust this person yet. But it's like if I want to get my needs met to be able to get to the doctor or those type things, then I need to disclose this information. And
mm,
that part has not always been the safest.
mm. Yeah. Um, yeah, I can see how that. This is like, I have so many questions. This is like opening up because this is a new experience for me. I know what it's like from my eyes, but I always love learning about what healthcare specifically looks like for other people with other disabilities who have different identities, who, all of the above. And so, I think it's something that a lot of people don't think about.
Mhm.
Um, Being disabled and trying to get a doctor to understand your disabilities is one thing. And that's difficult in and of itself. But then you add all those intersecting identities in there as well. And I would imagine that that's difficult.
Yeah, and I remember when I got ready to have top surgery a few years ago. I went to meet with the surgeon. I had done my
Mm,
research on him. I thought overall he was pretty great. My top question was, had you ever performed this particular procedure on a person with a disability? And they literally told me that they removed something from someone's neck who had the same wheelchair that I did. And I was like,
So that's not the question,
not
actually. That's
the
not what I
face.
asked. Not what I
And
asked in the
I
slightest.
remember going back to my primary and be like, yeah, not that doctor. Let's try
Maybe
this.
not.
Let's
Second
try this
opinion.
again. Yeah. And
Rewind.
so
Let's
I
go back.
think sometimes there's also a lack of just understanding from healthcare side of the field too. Is like just because we're all in wheelchairs does not make our needs uniform. And
Preach.
yeah, it's just like,
Yeah,
oh,
I run into a lot of people being like, "Well, this is what it worked for the last wheelchair user that I saw," and I'm like, "So I don't know what kind of disability that person had, but I guarantee it wasn't mine, and I guarantee a lot of our needs are not the same." Actually, fun fact.
yeah. And also, we don't all know each other either.
No, no, but I've run into a problem with that, where especially in areas. So I've lived in LA and I've lived
Yeah.
in Seattle. And a lot of people will be like, "Oh, so and so also has a disability. Do you know them?" And I have to run through the whole no, not all disabled people know each other spiel, you know. But then they tell me who they are, and 9 times out of 10, I do know them. It's a problem.
Oh yeah, that's
It's
definitely kind of
because then I'm like, wait, the stereotype. That's hang on.
a,
Wait a second.
yeah. Let's back up.
Let's back
So
up. So not all disabled people know each other, but I do know that person. Yeah, I do. I
yeah,
saw them last week, actually. So it's a never-ending conundrum that I face.
I could totally see that.
Let's talk about you being an author.
Okay.
What do you write? And what transpired? Like, why were you inspired to start writing?
So I really wrote super me, um, kind of how I was talking about earlier of just like healthcare workers and those that work with those of us in the community. Uh, don't have a lot of firsthand account of like what really goes on. And so I started keeping a journal when I came out in 2020. And it was literally a wild time because we had riots, Black Lives Matter, all these different things. And I didn't know how to go through transition, which was a lot. The world was like literally on fire. And it was like, I'm choosing myself, but like, am I crazy for doing this? Because look at the world right now. So I started writing it down. All the struggles from trying to find caregiving in the pandemic, all of that. And when I looked back at that journal, I said to myself, like, I think this would be really cool to publish because it gives people a raw account of what it's like to be disabled during a time when we didn't know what was going on with like the coronavirus.
Mm.
I actually caught COVID trying to navigate caregivers who didn't want me to catch COVID, and some of them had other, clients, so they were catching COVID. It was a whole mess. And I really only had pen and paper most days because I didn't want just random caregivers coming in. I didn't know them. We didn't know what the virus really was. Um,
Or how it was
so
spread at that point.
yeah, because like it was maybe 2 weeks after I started hormones, like the world shut down.
Oh my god.
So can you imagine like going through all of these like hormonal changes? Meanwhile, you turn on the news and it's like right here, right there. And I'm also
Everyone's
transitioning.
dying. Huh.
Yeah. And I'm transitioning into the very thing that we're writing about,
Mm.
because I was during the time it was like George Floyd and all those things are happening. So I really, you get all of that in the book because I talk about what it's like to, where I'm actually questioning myself. Did I choose to become my most authentic self? To be the thing that America hates. And it was really important for me to not edit it in a way where I censored myself because I wanted people to, this is what it's like when caregivers are late, or I can't get to this appointment, or, now we're running into issues about like telehealth. So all of those things. And I think it was just my way of being like, if you serve anybody in our community, read this. Because I bet it will help you become like a better nurse, a better doctor, a better social worker. And I have people that reach out to me and they're like, it was a little hard to read, but I appreciated it because it made me feel like what you were feeling.
Yeah. Wow, that's really powerful.
It's,
Was there any the book is out, right?
yes.
Yeah. So was there any like hesitation in putting it out into the world? Like that sounds like your deepest thoughts. Like I feel like I'd be
Uh,
like, I feel really vulnerable. I don't know if I want the world knowing about this.
well, I think it wasn't even that. I think I was most concerned about a lot of people back home because I left
Mm,
the South over 10 years ago. And at the time, a lot of them didn't know that I came out as trans. And so, am I going to put this out here, potentially have a lot of questions? How am I going to deal with that? And I think I kept going back to, I'm going to be my most authentic self.
mm.
And at the end of the day, I can't be worried about the response because those that read it and get something from it, that's what it was about.
Yeah, that's what it's for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, let's talk about moving from the South because I also moved. I moved a shorter distance than you did. But as a disabled person, moving at all, especially out on your own, is terrifying. So, how did you come to the conclusion that you wanted to move away from everything that you've ever known? Was there any like pushback from your family, from your loved ones, that they were like, "Hey, I don't know if this is a good idea."
So I actually, um, it was in like 2014, 2015. I was actually going to Nebraska for like the summer. I knew a former friend out there, and it was just meant for me to like get away for the summer. It had been a little bit of a rough time. And then I got there and I realized I could probably make this work if I wanted to like stay on my own. And so I didn't really tell anybody. I kind of was just like, I don't think I'm going back. And I started making the calls to like social workers and all the like immediate need to know people. But I didn't really explain myself. I was just like, I'm gonna figure out how to make this work and let's see what happens.
Hmm.
And I stayed in Nebraska for a couple years. And then Medicaid kind of fell apart. There was a lot of things going on with care. And I wrote in my journal when I was like 8 years old that one day I wanted to come to California. So I had a former caregiver who was no longer working for the company that she was with, but we had remained friends. And she ended up driving me from Nebraska to California over like 4 or 5 days. We just turned it into a road trip.
Wow.
Um, and it was a lot. It was also a lot because once we got here, they decided that they didn't want to be here. So all the care and everything that I had lined up, that was supposed to be the arrangement for like a month. There was like payment involved and all these things. They ended up leaving, and I just had to like, it was literally just me. And I was like, what am I going to do? And I remember calling like APS on myself, doing all the things because I was like, it's much easier if I just do it versus someone finding me in this hotel. Um,
Oh, you were in a hotel at that point.
yeah. because we
Oh my
were we
God.
had just came down here just to get all my stuff switched over. They were supposed to stay with me for like 3 weeks to a month, depending on like how much we could get transferred. And then they're like, nope, don't want to be here. And like, here I am, all my stuff. And I was just like, all right, here we go. And luckily, I had already done the move like once, so I felt like, okay, this is gonna be a little harder because at least I knew like one person in Nebraska versus now I'm just here. And it was rough, but I think I always go back to that choice of choosing myself.
Mm,
And there were some days I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work, but there was also a bigger pull on myself to just go for it.
mm. Was how do you find a caregiver at that point when you're in? So take me back to the moment you're in your hotel by yourself. You're in a space that you don't even really know where you are because you just got to this state and it's huge, by the way.
Yeah.
And the caregiver that was supposed to be with you for like a month just dipped. What do you do? What's the next step? How do you even figure
So
out what the next step is?
I knew that my first step was to get APS involved because I didn't want someone from the actual hotel to find me. I was like, this is going to be worse if it's done from that way. And I wasn't really a fan of calling APS. I literally was like, I just need to do something.
Mm.
And they actually put me in boarding care for like a day. And then
What's
I was like,
boarding care?
you basically move into like a group home
Okay.
and it becomes a whole thing. I did not like it. I did one night there and I was like, this is not for me because they take all of your money because essentially all of your social security, all that is paying for your stay.
Oh.
And I was like, nope, this doesn't work for me because at the time
Uh,
I had like an accessible van. I wouldn't have been able to keep any of that. So I was like, I need to get out of this situation. And I remember calling the social worker that they had just paired me with, and I told her I was like, I'm gonna go to the hospital, and we're gonna have to like figure something out because I can't come back here. And it took a lot of I posted in a lot of groups in this area, and I was like, I just need like a room to rent. I just had to kind of go out on faith because I was like, they had already told me about like in-home support and all those things, but I didn't have like a person. And luckily, someone answered. I was able to find like a room to rent within like 2 or 3 days. And then that at least gave me space to like do a more thorough search for like caregiving. And once I found like a caregiver, then I started focusing on like the apartment and
mhm.
all that stuff. So it was a long process. I went through like 3 or 4 rooms to rent in that time, but within like I'd say 6 months to that first year, I had finally like found something.
Oh my God.
And I literally built living in California from like literal ground up. Is what
Literally.
I took. Yeah. So
So take me through the process of trying to find a caregiver.
I started with like care.com because I was like, okay, yes, I have to like pay for this, but I knew they did like background checks, may not have been
Mm,
extensive, but I was like, it gives me something versus posting on like Craigslist or something. Even if it was just people to like bring me food, and they didn't really know the care piece yet. I just needed like a person. And then also because of the emergent situation, I was able to get like emergency in-home support.
mm,
So then the social workers were able to advertise, is anyone looking for hours in said area? So it's a lot of, again, dealing with social workers and agencies, but I credit a lot of that of just being a really good advocate for myself because I knew what I didn't want. And I was like, it might be harder because I don't want this, but I'm not going to do something I don't agree with.
yeah, you're not willing to settle.
Yeah. And
Well,
I
at
think
that
that
point
makes,
too,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I was gonna say it, and I think that also frustrates a lot of these different agencies because I always do it my way. And so it's like I know I'm not like difficult client, but at the same time, I feel like people would want that for themselves as well.
Well, it's your life, Howard, and like your daily routine. I don't
Right.
understand why you would want someone as a social worker to settle in
Yeah.
that experience. Like I would want to find someone that fits with your lifestyle, with your routine, with your whatever, you know? Like
Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense to me that you would be like, "Can you just pick this, please?"
Yeah, because
No.
even during like COVID, they like tried to put me in boarding care just for the time being because I didn't always
Mm-mm.
like it might be a day before my caregiver could come, but my landlord would come over and check on me. So I had at least someone laying eyes on me every day. And they tried so hard to push going into a home, and I was like, I live
Why?
on my own. Why would I
What was
go with
their what was their reasoning for that? Why did they want to put you in
because
a
the
home?
caregiver wasn't coming every day, even though I signed something saying I'm recognized we're in the middle of a pandemic, and if a caregiver is not able to get here, they've all been instructed to leave me emergency things for the day or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And they felt like it was more unsafe. But my argument was, I live on my own. You're then going to put me in a space where all these people and there's a virus we don't know anything about. I'm more likely going to catch this virus if I go into a place like that.
I don't know. Like, I understand that they are literally trained to do the safest option possible.
Yeah.
However, like as a social worker, from your point of view, right? w- What would you do in that? Like, as a professional, what would you do in that situation now? Because
I think
you have two perspectives now.
I think I would do exactly what I did. I would focus on the client's autonomy. Are they able to make these decisions for themselves? Is there anything telling me that they can't do this?
Mm,
What is the alternative plan if there's an emergency? Which my landlord had already spoken to like my therapist and a couple of her people, and they're like, I'll just come over and make sure they're okay. And, we'll just leave it at that. And I think that's what it goes back to. At the heart of social work is autonomy and
uh-huh.
letting people make those decisions for themselves. Because at the end of the day, a social worker doesn't make it for you. They might join you in that process, but I have to honor and respect what you want. And I think that's why I've been able to do a lot of the things that I'm doing is because I'm like, it might be the harder way to do it, but I'm gonna do this the way that feels most comfortable for
Right.
me.
So as a, I'm like, it's so interesting asking you questions because you have both perspectives now. You
Yeah.
have the professional perspective and you have the personal experience.
That's why it's always funny now when I talk to like my own social workers because I'm like, I don't know. Did you
Do
really
you
mean? Yeah.
do you ever catch yourself like is there like protocols in place that you're like actually can we do the A17? And
No, it helps me to know like during my assessments and things when they come to my home, like to also be able to be like, okay, this is what this is likely going to be like. Or if they
mm,
try to say something and I don't understand it, I'm like, can you explain this? Because actually, I learned this in school and I'm just trying to figure out how it applies in this situation.
mm,
And a lot of them are really open to things like that because oh, you're in school, so you're going to be doing this stuff. And so it then opens the door for an additional conversation. But I think for me, I've always been someone driven by knowledge. Like I always want to know like why something is or like what's a way we can do this better.
you always want to know the why behind something.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
Do you think that your education in social work has helped you become a better advocate for yourself?
most definitely. I think because I try to look at situations from both sides. Even when I call my own social worker now, I'll be like, well, I thought about this for a couple days. And like, I try not to get too educational about it, but like, here was the way I was able to understand it, blah, blah, blah. And I think it helps me to give them a chance to explain like why they're thinking that way
Mm.
instead of just making decisions for me or saying like, oh, you have to do it this way. It's like, can you explain that? Because I want to make sure like I'm honoring like what I really want to.
Do you think that social workers who know that you are a fellow social worker, do you think that they treat you differently because of that? Like treat you with more respect because of that?
I wonder that I sometimes I feel like it's kind of the opposite. Not that like
Mm.
they treat me wrong, but I think sometimes it's almost like let's see like how much he really knows. Or is
Really?
he really going to ask this? I don't really feel like it's more respect. I think sometimes it's actually harder. And I have
Hmm.
to either go to a friend or someone and be like, am I writing this correctly? Am I saying this correctly? Because I don't want to come across like I know too much, but I want to make sure they're honoring things that I want or my boundaries or like, whatever the case may be. So I think it's
Mm.
also about me checking in with myself and making sure that we're working together versus me trying to take over.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah,
You trying to be your own social worker.
yeah. And
You're like,
sometimes
you
I
know
have
what? I'll
to,
just handle that. I'll just do it.
and that's why they say, because like a lot of programs I qualify for, but I don't. And because am a really good advocate, they're like, do you want to call or do you want us to handle it? And so
No,
sometimes,
you do your job. You
yeah.
do your job. You do it.
And so sometimes I'm like, actually, you can take that this week. And so I think that's the thing is sometimes I'm afraid to say like, oh, I'm a really good advocate or show that
Mm.
part of myself because then they start to feel like, oh, I don't have to do as much.
Oh, you got it. Yeah.
And it's like, no, I still need you to like do your part.
Do your job, actually. Uh, please do what you're being paid for.
Thank you. And we could
Thank
talk
you.
about it after the fact, but
But you do it first, so we'll chat about it.
yeah.
You said that as a social worker, your main focus for your clients is autonomy. Do you think that that's a pretty universal focus for social workers, or do you think that that's kind of lacking in the industry?
I think that at the heart of our ethics, and I'm saying this with a few more months to graduate, that's what it's about, and just being client centered. I think there are a lot more things now, whether that's conferences or trainings or whatever the case may be, that kind of really hone in on that,
Mm.
especially given the times. But I think at times it could be challenging because you want to just go in and like fix it and make it better. And with me also being an intern and doing more of the therapy work now, I've had to tell myself that like I'm not going to be able to fix this, but I can like sit with that person,
Yeah.
especially given everything that's going on.
Mm. So I don't, I'm not familiar with the social work industry. That might be my own ignorance, or that might just be because it's not my job. But am, I'm interested. Like, is there a specialty that you can go into for like just disabled people, or like as a social worker, do you just kind of have to deal with everyone who needs a social worker?
I think that there are different, well, there's kind of like three different types of social work. So you have like the more individual work, and then you have the more out in the community work, and then you have the type where it all comes together, whether that's individual, organization, and community.
Mm.
And I think my internship that I've been doing for about a year has been more like individual social work. So doing mental health therapy sessions. I've recently gotten more into community and sort of okay, what does this look like from a policy standpoint?
Uh,
Like, what's the gap there? And so I think it changes. I think some people go into it knowing they want to do one thing and that's their only focus. I actually went into social work thinking I would just do therapy, focusing on disability and LGBT community. I've now found, given the times and everything that's going on and just some other volunteer work that I've done, there's a little bit of a community pool.
mm,
And so I've been trying to get in touch and be more available to what's going on in my local community and how that impacts. Um, but I think ultimately it can change. I know people that have done social work for 20 plus years and they start out one way and then they get kind of burned out and they might go to something else. And I think that's the beauty of social work
mm,
is that if I do get tired of therapy, I can go into something else and still utilize my degree.
mm. So September's a big month for you. We talked about this a little bit before
Yes,
we started recording, but as you get ready for another surgery and as you get ready for graduation, literally all in the same week, what are your thoughts
literally.
going into that? We're what, 3 months out?
Yeah,
What
it's
are you feeling
crazy.
3 months out?
Um, a little kind of just anxious, definitely given like everything that's going on. It's like, am I gonna have the insurance to get this thing done? And
Yeah,
that's
it could
why,
change
yeah, and that's why I'm
quickly.
pushing the date so close because I have surgery and then I still have a week of classes left right after surgery. Um,
Are you going to be able to go to those classes? Like,
so I go
like,
to school online. So
okay.
what I've been told and what the plan is my surgery is going to be on a Friday. I'm hoping to be like home back in my bed by Monday because I should only have,
Whoa,
yeah, I should
that's
only have one night.
crazy.
Yeah, one night in the hospital is what's anticipated, barring nothing happens.
Wow.
Um, and so then I would then be back home, obviously resting, but I'll just need to be like on my computer for that week.
Okay. I'm a one woman show. That means that I write all of these scripts, film all of these videos all by myself. But I also have a team of amazing editors. And as you can imagine, it costs some money to be a 23-year-old entrepreneur. So that's why I started a Ko-Fi. And so many of you were asking how you can support me being able to do what I love and make videos for all of you. That's why I started a Ko-Fi. If you head on over to my Ko-Fi and drop a donation, you automatically become a representation booster. And I shout out one representation booster in my weekly YouTube video. So head on over to my Ko-Fi, drop a donation, and who knows, maybe next week I'll shout you out. Back to the video.
So
So
we'll
are we
see.
excited? Are we nervous? Is your
I
graduation also online?
So the way my school works is they actually have like a commencement. It'll actually be 2026 because they do
Mm,
like a couple a year and they do it in
okay.
different city and state. So the actual ceremony won't probably be until like March. I don't really know if
Of next year.
yeah. So I don't really know if I want to do that. I'm still kind of like, I don't know. I think I just want my paper and it was
You're like, I
off.
just want to be over, done.
I'm really excited about recovery because after that week, I won't have anything to do and I can just lay in bed and like, because it was a
Scroll.
3 year program. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was long, but
Yeah,
we're
that's a
almost.
long time. Well, also, I think a lot of people will hear that you don't want to do your commencement, like the physical part of it, and be like, what? Why? But a lot of people don't realize is that takes a lot of accessibility and a lot of conversations and a lot of logistical planning of
Yeah,
like, oh, well, how are you, is the stage accessible? How are you going to walk across the stage? Are you going to walk? Are you going to use a walker? Are you going to use your chair? Are you going to have somebody walk with you? Or how are you going to get back down from the stage back to
yeah,
your seat? How are you going to?
That's what I
I
tell
remember doing that for
people.
graduation, and it was like, so
You get
that
tired.
almost was more nerve-wracking than the actual
That's why I tell
commencement.
people that like I love to do things, but sometimes the work to do
It's
that thing
exhausting.
takes all my energy to do the actual thing.
But, like, I see your point where it's like I just want to get the paper and be done. Like the end,
Yeah, we can
you
like
know.
have the celebration. It'll be fine. Like,
Yay, come
yeah,
to my house. Like I'm not. I
yeah,
don't actually want to leave. Yeah, I remember doing that for my bachelor's graduation, and luckily the commencement team was beautiful. They were so accommodating. They like gave me a tour of the location a week before um commencement and like walked me through the whole thing and helped me. They were like, "Oh, well, is the dog gonna walk across? Are you gonna walk? Are you gonna use your chair? Do you want somebody to go with you? What about?" I remember this whole thing. There was a whole thing about me. Once you walk, they give you the
yeah,
what's called diploma cover,
yeah.
and you walk, you get it, and then you shake hands, and then you get to the very end, you take a picture, you go back to your seat. And there was that was the whole conversation. So many conversations. That was the focal point because they were like, okay, well, since Champ is going to walk across with you, you're going to have one hand full. So are you going to carry the diploma in the other hand? Okay, what shoes are you wearing? Because if you're wearing shoes, and that was like on me because I was like, that was my question. I was like, well, if I'm going to wear heels, I need one hand free in case I face plant on stage.
Yeah.
So I would like to have at least one hand free so I could possibly hold Champ's leash, his harness, and my diploma cover all in one hand. I could do that.
Yeah, put
And then
something
shake
on
hands
Champ
as I
and just
walk.
let him hold it.
And then also, I wanted to be extra and give Champ his own cap for
Oh.
cap and gown. So we decorated his own cap. And it was so cute. It was made out of construction paper. But he was like, what is this? What is this on me? So one hand was actually making him keep the thing on, and the other hand was out. So then it was a whole thing. And so we eventually settled on I wasn't going to get the diploma cover that at that point. I was going to get it early. Actually, I didn't even touch it until after the whole event was over. They gave it to my mom. My mom came and grabbed it from whoever. And then I just walked across the stage, shook hands, and took a picture, and that was it. But I didn't have like the diploma cover to like pose with or anything. And I was like, that's fine with me. Actually, I don't need that. I don't need that part. I'll take pictures with it later. Like it's
Yeah.
not that big of a deal. It's fine. But like just that small thing of like, okay, but how is this logistically going to work? Because she needs one hand free, and what shoes is she going to wear? And the dog, and
Yeah.
the it's like, oh my god, oh my
You're
god.
like, I just want to graduate.
I was
It's
like,
fine.
can I just graduate? And my classmates, my friends who were graduating with me, were shocked that this was as big of a conversation as it was. They were like, why is this so important? And I was like, because it is. Like, you just get to walk across and like not even think about this whole thing. I have to think about every single part of it
Yeah.
before it even a week out. Okay. Like,
Yeah.
it's a thing. It's a thing. And then they were like, oh, small thing. You are going to have to walk up 4 steps to get onto the stage and then down the 4 steps. We'll
Oh
have somebody
no.
on the other side to like help you if you need a hand. And that was my final straw. I was like, okay, no diploma cover. None. I will suffer. It's fine. I'll take pictures later. But
Yeah.
like that,
You
the
can.
stage wasn't accessible. They were like, well, you could walk in front of the stage. But then I was like, but then you're not going to make the rest of my classmates do that. No, like I want to
Yeah.
walk on
Like
stage
everybody
just
else.
like everyone else.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I had to walk up and down stairs, and it was a whole ordeal. So just that. I mean, people
Yeah.
don't realize how much conversation and accessibility goes into those little things. So you were like, yeah, actually, I just want the paper and I want to leave. And I was like, yeah, fair.
Yeah,
Fair.
just, we can go on a trip, like do
You could go on a trip.
anything.
You could go to dinner, brunch, whatever you want to do.
Yeah,
You
I
can have like a
just,
little graduation party at your apartment. Like, why do you need to?
yeah, it's too
Walking across
much
the stage, no.
logistics and all
Too many
that.
people. Too many people.
Yeah,
There's also like there's it's not just one person that you have to talk to for that. It's a team
yeah.
of like 10 of them.
Because I did
You have
it
to
for
make sure all of them
undergrad, and I was like, okay, I love this, but
did
never
it.
again.
Cool, great, done.
That's it. I
I'm
don't
done.
want. Yeah,
Well, for me too, I graduated in 2020. I graduated high school in 2020. So I didn't get the whole graduation experience where like you walk across the stage. I didn't get a prom. I didn't get a graduation. I got a drive through graduation. Whoa. So for
that
me,
is
like my
interesting.
undergrad was really important for me
Yes,
to walk across the stage because I didn't get that the first time.
yeah,
So I was like, the hell I won't walk across that stage. Like if
yeah,
there's anything I'm gonna do, it's walk across that damn stage. Like I was so adamant, like that was the thing. So it was on me. Like there were
yeah.
there were probably better accommodations that I probably would have taken if I got that high school graduation experience. But because I didn't, like I was so adamant that I was gonna get that one like pivotal moment. I
And
wanted the pictures. I wanted the applause. I was like, this is gonna happen.
yeah, you want all of it. And I think
uh,
too, that's why it's so good when we can go through things like that because we gather
mm,
data. It's like, okay, this worked. Okay, so maybe not this type of stage, or, because you just never know. And so I tell people all the time, take that inventory because it's going to help you later.
mhm. Oh, that was the other thing is the holding room for all of us for
Oh,
undergrad was downstairs.
so they
And
wanted you to go
so
downstairs, and then for the thing, you had to go upstairs.
they were like, listen, we will take you around so that you don't have to go up and downstairs, but you will lead the
Uh-huh.
all the graduates into the building, but you have to take a separate path. And I was like, okay, how am I supposed to get to my seat though? And so then you had to talk to like the person who was in front of you and the person who was behind you
Yep, to
to like,
know.
oh, and then they were like, oh, but she actually can't see if she sits in the row with like the people who are in front of and behind her. She won't be able to see anything. So they put me in the front row with all the A last names. My last name is H. And so then it was on the person in front of and behind me. And then I
Yeah,
had to memorize who was in front of and behind me so
yeah.
that when it was their turn to go in the line, then I knew, oh, those people look familiar. That's who I'm supposed to stand in the middle of. It was
Yep.
a whole thing. It was an entire thing. I was like, oh my God, I am never doing this again. Never.
I remember
Cannot pay me.
for my high school, luckily I knew the person that was sitting next to me. I was like, you're just gonna have to
Thank
tell
God.
me when to
Just tap
like,
me.
yeah, tell me when to turn the chair on, because
Tell me where to go. I'm not doing
they're
this.
they're like, okay, got you, because it was too much to remember.
And then I also have a small child with me, my dog. And so he, the whole time, is like, literally, what is going on?
Yeah,
What is
she was like,
happening?
this is
This
too
does
much.
not look our normal Thursday. Like, what is, why is there so much energy happening right now? Because everybody's excited and like nervous. And he's like, I am done. I was like,
I
yeah,
just
me too.
want a treat and like.
Oh, he got plenty that day. Let me tell you, we
But
were trying to take pictures though with like my friends and like my teachers and stuff. And he just got in the car. He was like, I'm over it. My
at
sister was like,
least
I'll take him. And just put him in the car because he was like, I'm not doing this anymore.
at least he knows like when he's done.
Very much so. He's like, you can take it from here. Also, like my mom, my sister, and Kaz's mom were all there, and like all my teachers were there. And so Champ was like, you guys got it from here. You guys can take her. If anything
Yeah,
happens,
this is
you're
this
fine.
is
She's
safe.
fine. She
Yeah,
doesn't need me.
yeah.
She
You
doesn't
go
need me.
take
She's
a
fine.
nap.
But yeah, no kidding. Okay. um, this brings me to my very last question for you.
Okay.
So, what a lot of my viewers are young.
Yes.
And I get comments all the time asking about self-love and advocacy, and people are like, "Well, I am 13 and I'm disabled and I'm struggling with self-love." Or how do I advocate better for myself? Or how do I know what I need? And how do I ask, who do I know how do I know who to ask for those things? Um or I'm not seeing a future for myself because I don't see myself represented in the field that I want to go into, and all of the above, right? And so my question for you is, what would you tell those younger kids, disabled kids, who honestly might be in the LGBTQ plus community and may not even know yet, or maybe do know and they're too afraid to come out?
I think the first thing I would say is you are enough just as you are.
Mm,
Um, I think especially when we're in the disability community, it's very hard to not feed into the narrative of like being too much or being a burden or whatever it may be. And just reminding yourself that your existence is all that you need. And then branch out, whether that's social media or some people find things on Reddit, whatever your thing is, you never know. I would say that majority of the people that I'm close to now is people I've met on social media. And just know that no matter what, there is community out there for you. And it might be maybe you ask a social worker, what support groups are in the area? Or you know what, I have a hard time getting to X, Y, and Z. Do you know of any virtual resources? Whatever that access looks like, ask someone in the community, post a status, post in groups anonymously if you're worried about, you know, being seen in that way first. Because you never know the spaces or the people that you'll find just by asking questions. I know I've personally seen you post things and I'm like, I didn't even know this was a thing. I need to do better about what's around the area. Um, and also just lean into the people that support you. That's a big one even for me because I'm really terrible about self-care at times, but also having people in your corner who will remind you of yourself, and it's okay to like take a moment. And you don't have to figure it all out today or tomorrow. It took me years to get to where I am now, and just being patient with yourself because you won't always know it or get it right, but you can keep moving. And
mm.
I think that's what it's about.
Yeah, that was lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Malachi, where can people find you?
They can find me on Instagram at Malakai Strong. And then my website is strongwill.com, where you can also find the book.
Yeah, we love.
Yes, yes.
Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for watching and listening to this episode of The View from 4 Feet and 3 Inches. I'm your host, Cassidy Huff. Please make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. Give this podcast episode a 5-star rating, depending on where you are watching or listening. It really helps the show out and me. Please make sure to go follow me on all of my other platforms because I do post on Instagram, Facebook Reels, YouTube Shorts, and TikTok every single day. I have a YouTube vlog that comes out every Wednesday and a podcast episode here on The View from 4 Feet and 3 Inches, out everywhere you listen to podcasts every single Sunday. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and we will see you next week. Bye!